Developed by the makers of the last Mortal Kombat installment, Injustice seeks to unite the DC Universe characters together in a successful game. Last attempt at this, in my opinion, was the more than lackluster Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, which had scope but lacked fluidity and execution. Luckily, this new attempt is very reminiscent of the last Mortal Kombat title. Before I get too far into this game's review, I should probably mention that I am not a hardcore fighting enthusiast. I just occasionally enjoy fighting games now and again. Normally I prefer the 3D fighters, the ones that let you move forward and backward along with side to side. Favorites of mine being the Dead or Alive franchise and Soul Calibur. As I said, not an expert when it comes to fighting games, I prefer to think of myself as a strategic button masher, one who memorizes a few of the more convenient combos. Injustice, unsurprisingly, offers a story mode, which will take the average gamer 2 to 4 hours to complete. Mostly depending on if the person chooses to watch the cutscenes. I actually did watch every single cutscene in the game, and to be blunt, I wish I hadn't. The story came across as rather dull, although I imagine comic book fans may say differently. The only part of the story I enjoyed listening to was the random one-liners and catchphrases the characters would say. I mainly enjoyed this because some of them were so stupid that they were amusing. The ones that weren't amusing sort of just awkwardly hung in the air. Perhaps I would have been more into the story if the cinematics weren't so poorly done. They utilize the in-game character models, which look good when playing as them, but just look out of place and extremely awkward during the cutscenes, in turn making the cutscenes look bad. The only diversity mixed in with story mode is some random little mini-games that are actually nothing more than QuickTime events. Aside from those, the story is just composed of random battles with different enemies. Also, should probably mention that the story is very similar to how Mortal Kombat's story is set up. By that I mean that the game forces you to play as different characters on separate acts. So the player never has the option of actually choosing the character they are fond of using for story. Not a big deal because I assume most people will start with the story, which will allow them to test drive a decent portion of the characters to help them find which they prefer using. On top of story mode, players are granted with a decent amount of extra content to flesh out the game a bit. Stars mode offers the player 140 unique battles, which rank the player based on a 3-star system. I myself didn't much get into this mode, but it's there for those who want it. Oh, and the battles aren't your typical ones either. They are usually modified in some way with requirements. One such requirement may force the player to defend for 30 seconds without getting touched. Along with stars, the game features all the other expected modes. Practice mode, allowing players to learn everything there is to know about each character. Battle mode, the arcade replacement, where upon completion, the player is given an ending for whichever character was used. And an online mode, where players can test their skills against the world. Online is basically just an expanded and refined version of what we were given in the newest Mortal Kombat title, consisting of a few different game modes. As we all know, the characters featured in this game consist of DC Universe characters, and this game boasts a pretty impressive roster, even amounts of heroes and villains alike. It has your expected Superman, Batman, Joker, Lex Luthor, etc. Each character is very unique to each one's personality and is shown in their movesets. It won't take long before you find a character that suits your playstyle. My personal favorite was Harley Quinn, mostly because of her stylish moves and funny taunts, but also because who doesn't like a female psychopath? Injustice plays like your run-of-the-mill 2D fighter, with some added features to spice things up a bit. Each character has a unique attack built specifically for them, activated with the B button. For Green Arrow, this attack quickly launches an arrow towards his opponent. While his may lack originality, some of the other characters are a bit more thought out. Spectacle is not truly displayed until a character's super move is charged up, shown by a meter at the bottom of the screen. After activated, the character will perform a truly remarkable and deadly attack shown by a gorgeously animated cinematic, such as Flash, who literally runs around the earth to deliver one single monstrous punch onto his opponent. All of these super moves are entertaining to behold. I found myself picking different characters just to see each one's super move. Each player has 2 health bars, and after the first is depleted, the opponent will taunt you in some way. I found these taunts to be quite amusing. Perhaps the most unique thing introduced into the fighting is the level transitions and interactions. When the enemy and yourself are within range of one of these interactions, the player can activate them to attack the player with a piece of the environment, whether it be throwing them towards something or something towards them. This was a clever addition, one that adds an extra dimension to the combat, along with making the different stages more than just eye candy. One possible issue is that these different transitions and interactions, I imagine, may be exploited to unfairly turn the tides of battle. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with the game, so I am unsure whether the characters are balanced properly. Although I imagine the online community will quickly bring to light any balancing problems, and the developers will hopefully make patches accordingly. NetherRealm incorporated tons of extra content and customization options, which act as some great fan service. All these unlockables can be purchased in the gallery, such as concept art, music, character models, extra costumes, etc. Each character is given their own player card, listing tons of stats that can be customized to create a unique identity. NetherRealm has once again given us a more than satisfactory fighting game. Deciding to base their game around DC Universe characters worked brilliantly, and actually made me forget about the last time DC Universe characters were used in a fighting game, which is a good thing. Each character captures the personality of their source material and is brought to life through their moves and taunts. Story mode was a little bit of a letdown for me, but then again it usually is in fighting games. Characters look pretty good in combat, but look atrocious during the cinematics. Minigames offer some mindless fun, but are nothing more than QTEs. Gods Among Us has a fair amount of different modes to flesh it out. Extra features introduced into the gameplay were all cleverly utilized and add to the experience. Customization options and unlockables offer some great fan service to the players. Environmental interactions may have brought about some balance issues, but they can be turned off. This is an obvious purchase for any fighting enthusiast, but even casual players who just like the comic book characters might have some fun beating each other up. I know I did. Injustice: Gods Among Us gets a 7.9 out of 10.